There is no doubt that now we have a much higher quality of life nowadays. On the other hand, this is the first time in the history of humankind that we could be destroying ourselves. First, because we are already very successful in destroying the nature, our only environment that we have. And second, because the human capital and social capital we keep destroying. Okay? So in order to overcome that issue, the solution is the paradigm change. So we are in a new paradigm. Now let me compare two other big paradigmatic changes. One now frequently uses the term paradigm change almost for everything. So we speak not only about Glorious Revolution, French Revolution, October Revolution as being paradigm changes. We speak about Copernican and so on. But let me compare two major paradigm changes. One is what we had in physics at the turn of the 20th century. But basically, physics was all the time the same. It was our restriction, our own shortcomings, that we did not realize what the actual world is. So we use the Newtonian mechanics, which is really part of the overall system, rather than realizing that the actual world is determined by quantum physics and theory of relativity. A very important point, by the time when these two major revolution, or maybe even one major revolution in physics happened, physics was almost at the pinnacle of great success. And Kelvin gave a famous speech where he said, everything is known, there are two minor clouds. These two minor clouds turn out to be, of course, major things. Okay, when we look now at our situation in economy, as it has done, all what has done, namely destroying both human and natural capital as much as it can. The other big paradigmatic change is, of course, the Neolithic agricultural revolution, which happened 12,000 years ago. And of course, at that time, we change from essentially being hunter-gatherer to being agriculturalist. An important point is that at that time, we had an option. We could continue as hunter-gatherers. Nothing essentially forced us to leave that situation. We could be that. Now we don't have this option. We have to go to a new paradigm in economy and, as we will discuss in the afternoon, in governance. Now, how are we sure that we have actually accomplished a successful paradigmatic change? In physics, for instance, when Einstein was trying to solve the problem and then came with the special theory of relativity, there was one thing that he had to satisfy his theory, and that is that the speed of light is always the same in all frames of reference. So we would like to have something like that in this big economic paradigm shift. And the view is very simple. Namely, if an important aspect is the human capital, then let us guarantee that that human capital is not destroyed, so that it has dignity, it has potential for development. And then you actually go several hundred years ago and see that there are no concepts, not even good English words for terms that we are so much obsessed today. Employment, everybody was employed basically, either as a soldier or as a serf or earlier as a slave. There was no retirement, of course. You would work until you die, obviously, which is the only solution that one should possibly have. So, coming to the question of the employment, if we want to assure to keep human dignity, if we want to assure that people have this minimal of human rights, namely, as Gary put down, the employment is an equivalent of voting rights, then, of course, the employment should be guaranteed. Now, how that can be done? First, of course, by the economic system. Economic system is valuable then, and only then, if it produces full employment. Now, who will guarantee that? Since we have a system, and we will come again later on to cultures and the discussion that you started with this Engelman and so on plot, but basically the structure that we have superimposed on roughly several thousand different cultures is a system of 193 in the UN and somewhat more altogether sovereign states. So as Atkinson wrote in The Equality, states are the last resort of guaranteeing the full employment. We know several cases. Claude Juncker now comes with some of the ideas. The case that we know very well is the proposal that Gary and his group some 20 years ago put forward, and it is actually guaranteed at least some employment by the government of India, and there are many of cases like this. So employment is absolutely a condition for a good economics system to be satisfied. One comment, of course, is that we are going to face a major changes generated, just to make the analogy, with the great agricultural revolution. There we merged with animals and with plants. Now we are going to merge with robots. Robots will be here with us very, very soon, sitting here around this table and so on, having some being more intelligent or at least more precise with a higher memory and so on. They will do a variety of jobs, and we have to realize this situation that will be there. Of course, there is nothing to be afraid with the robots, just there was nothing to be afraid with the animals or with the plants. The enormous human creativity is always something that allows us to solve the problem, and I argue, as we have always argued as we have, not always, but for the last essentially 5 years, argued in the academy, the need for a full employment. Thank you.